be worthy. Let's give it a chance. Now go fight for your family. Go fight for the world.
I just threw a truck at a dragon. I love my life.
We're going to go ahead and we're going to move on to my review for Shazam! Fury of the Gods. I know I'm coming a little late with this review, Chad, but I've just been so busy working on so much content. But I can tell you right now, I have indeed seen the movie. And for those that don't know the kind of the general premise of this film, Chad, it starts with these vengeful trio of ancient gods who have arrived on Earth in search of the magic that was stolen from them and their forefathers long ago. And Shazam, his family, and his allies get thrust into a battle for not only their superpowers, but their lives and the fate of the world itself. Now, before I kind of go into my general thoughts on the movie, chat, I do want to talk about just, the original Shazam film and also the character of Shazam, Captain Marvel, from the comic books, of course. Listen, as I've said before, I've always really enjoyed the character of Shazam and Captain Marvel. Although the concept and characters, kind of obviously, predate this specific film. The film Big, it just so much reminded me of that movie. And because of that, that movie and what it was focused on, the idea of family, kind of this wholesome family movie, the entire Shazam idea always came across as, this fun a family fantasy film that was very much like that original Tom Hanks movie. And I like that they embraced those core attributes, and they pretty much wore that influence, on their sleeves, for the original film. But the character and his family dynamic was always really appealing, from the comics. And the various adaptations, of that for the last, several decades, Jeff, multiple decades at this point. Shazam, the character Shazam, Captain Marvel, has been around for so long. And the original movie, to me, is definitely one of the best films of the DCEU, the DC Extended Universe. And it's probably, at least for me, only second to James Gunn's, the Suicide Squad. It's also just, infinitely better than any of the trash, Zack Snyder made under the DC umbrella, Man of Steel, BVS, etc. that goes without saying. I don't even have to say it. So I've always really liked this, the previous film. Always really liked the character. I feel like there's so much you could just play around with, and it's just a great, family film, right? But then, coming to, Shazam! Fury of the Gods, which I was always looking forward to this. I feel like they took like a long break. I guess it's been like 4 years since the original movie, because I guess the first one, came out in 2019. And that's reflected in this specific film in terms of the chronology. A lot of the characters are older. But, I have to say, what Fear of the Gods, I think, does best is really lean into the Shazam family and their dynamic with each other. They all feel even closer. And everyone in the family, from Freddy to Eugene to Mary and Pedro, all the foster kids, chat, that Billy integrates with from the original film, they all really do feel like brothers and sisters. Just their whole dynamic, their bond and the chemistry feel even stronger, and they're even given more to do, especially with Jack Dylan Grazer, who obviously he's returning to his role as Freddie Freeman from the original movie. But you also see him play the character, I believe, of Eddie from the It films, and he's fantastic. I always like seeing that kid pop up in things. I think he's also provided some voice work too. He was in Luca, so always great. He's a real rising talent. Grazier's character in particular, like, he wants to be just like more independent, and it's a nice contrast with Asher Angel and Zachary Levi, who play Billy and Shazam, who now at this point wants to keep his family together and is really concerned with just the future and the future of his family. You know, it's very much in contrast to the way Billy was portrayed in the first movie, where he's like, I don't need family. I want to be by myself. I want to find my real family. I want to find his real mom. But because of how that played out, now he feels lost. He feels lost, and he doesn't want to feel lost again by losing this family. Because one of the major plot elements of this movie, Chad, is him feeling this great concern because he's going to be aging out of the foster care system, which I'm glad they addressed that. Yeah, these kids look a lot older now, and so they have to address that. So I thought that was good. But I like that. I like that was a part of it. And he feels that fear, you know. And Grazier, he also gets just a really entertaining subplot with Jimon Hunsu, who, yes, he returns as the Wizard Shazam. Doesn't make any sense. No. It's confusing. Like, they even say, like, you died in the last movie. He goes, yeah, I died. I know. Yep, you got me. I died. But do they explain how he came back? Not really. I mean, you can come up with any excuse, some magic mumbo jumbo, but he's back. I do appreciate it. They got him out of that Party City wig. He has a much better wig, much better beard. It didn't feel like they went to Party City, Chad. It feel like they actually custom made it. So the makeup on him and all the stuff that he's wearing, Chad, he looks like he gets a number of upgrades in this film, I would say. But him and Grazer, they have a really just fun subplot where they spend most of the movie together, and I liked how they were playing off of each other, Chad. I thought, like, oh, how is this going to work out? And it really did work for me. Also, the foster parents, you know, played by Marta Milans and Cooper Andrews, who I loved from the previous film, Chad. They return here. And they're given even more to do, and they have a number of just, again, great wholesome interaction with the Shazam kids. They feel like parents, just like little subtle details. I mean, obviously in the last movie, but even this movie, like all the foster kids, whether, again, it be Darla or Mary or Eugene or Pedro, they all call them mom and dad. And that felt real to me. I was like, it's so sweet. It's just so great that you just have this really just close-knit family. And I like that, you know, it plays out where they're interacting with more of the fantastical elements in the movie, of course, and their reactions are great. But yeah, at the same time, it's like, yeah, even though we know everything about our kids, there's still concern for them. So I really like that. They're wonderful in the movie, and you buy them as a couple, and they make great parents. And again, it's all the wholesome familial stuff in this movie that works so well. That's when it's at its strongest, in my opinion. And I like that they really leaned into that, which they definitely leaned into in the last movie, but here it's even more so. Now, when it comes to the more, I guess, superhero-esque content for this movie, I feel like it's kind of a mixed bag. Like, we have the introductions of the Daughters of Atlas, played by Helen Mirren as Hespera, I believe her name is. You got Lucy Liu as the character Calypso, and you have another actress in this movie as well, as a character of Anthena. And that she's played by Rachel Zegler, I believe. They're good in the movie. I like them. They're not originally, these characters I believe are not from the comics. They were made for this specific movie, and I like their dynamic. And listen, Helen Mirren's just one of those. I mean, listen, you can give her anything, and she can sell it, Chad. And I feel like she sells a lot what she's a given. She feels intimidating. I like her rapport, not only with her sisters, but also her back and forth. I mean, you see it in the trailer, Chad, with her and Zachary Levi, who's playing Shazam, like they're back and forth as they're, you know, eating Philly cheese steak sandwiches. That was good. She sells all that dialogue. She gets some fun action. Apparently she did a lot of her own stunts, which is pretty cool. Yeah, she apparently broke her finger. She said, "This is my regular pinky finger, and here's my Shazam finger," and just is all bent and broken, Chad. It just looks warped. It's like, oh my god, what happened to that finger, Chad? And making this movie, she's great. You know, I do like her. You know, Lucy Liu, there's more to Hespera in the film than what the trailers, I think, are indicating. Lucy Liu is Calypso. I'm an agent of chaos. That's pretty much what she is. She is very much, I am mad, I am angry, and I want to burn the world, or in this case, turn it into a hellscape filled with abominations. That's kind of much what she's doing in the movie. Not a lot of depth to her. No, she's not bad. She's like, that's it. And then you have, you know, Rachel Zegler. Zegler, who is playing the youngest of the sisters, the youngest is the daughter of Atlas, and and she's good, and she has a nice dynamic with one of the other Shazam family members, which I do like. It was cute, but again, it's pretty much what she's there for. Not exactly the most memorable villains, chat, but I suppose maybe better than I don't know. It's weird because they get a fun opening action sequence that's also horrifying. That's the other thing too. There's like some horror stuff in this movie, which obviously David Sandberg, he came from horror of Lights Out and Annabelle, Creation, the prequel sequel Annabelle, which I really like actually. He brings his horror sensibilities into this movie, and it's just like, oh my god. I don't think anything is maybe as shocking as that door where he melted his wife or turned her to ash when she touched that door in the first film. But they kill a number of. This is a very violent, surprisingly violent family film, and they kill a lot of people. A lot of people just walking off of things, dropping, like exploding, being eaten by creatures, or being dropped from very tall heights. So I was like, oh god. A lot of this is caused by the daughters of Atlas, or some of them. But I don't know. There's something about even with Mark Strong's character from Shazam 1. He I don't know, he just some of the scenes he had just kind of hit me a little stronger, especially with the stuff in his boardroom and the dad. I didn't feel as much as a personal connection, because this is whole personal connection because we saw like that movie opens up with him with the wizard, and it all feels connected, and that defined him. The Daughters of Atlas were just kind of told like, oh yeah, the wizard did this to us, but we're never shown. I think that's what the problem the movie has, and that's what we're kind of going into. This is one of my big criticisms, is that with the last movie, we're shown a lot what happens. We kind of, despite maybe how thinly written the character of Savannah is, played by Mark Strong in the first film, like we see everything that happens to him. We understand what his motivation. Daughters of Atlas, we're told a lot. That's the big problem here. There is too much exposition in this movie, and there's a lot of word vomit. And listen, I'm not against, like, because now it's so funny, because back in the day, like the Wonder Woman, the first, which I always said this is a huge mistake that they're doing this, is that in the original Wonder Woman film, they've established that all the gods died. They're all dead. I'm like, why did you do that? You can play around with the gods and how they interact now in this modern day society. That to me is fascinating. So now when they bring in, oh yeah, no, that god's alive, or these gods are alive, or they'll survive. It's like, so all that was just bullshit. Again, it just shows you they're paying for the mistakes of the past, chat. Especially with, certain aspects of this movie with the exposition. Like, okay, we got to explain how they're alive, how they survived despite all the gods being killed, and we're retconning, and that's like, that's frustrating, because of they're paying for the mistake that the first Wonder Woman did, where it established, yep, all those gods are gone. Well, it's like, well, guess what? They're not. And it's like, all right. But yeah, they're just throwing out a lot of terms. There's a lot of sequences where they're reading a lot of books, which sounds like such a weird criticism, but yeah, it's just not as exciting when you're literally just, you're following a character and they're reading things off of Wikipedia or Google or these ancient tomes. And there's a lot of scenes like that. I'm like, if you were to show this, if you would even show this like in a flashback, I feel like that would be a lot better, because it's going to be a lot to take in. It's like, wait, that's connected to this, and then there's this apple, and then there's a tree, and then their powers were taken, and then the wizard did that. I was like, wait, what? And again, we're not being shown any of this. We're being told all this, and that is just not very exciting. And the other aspect of this movie, I didn't feel like it was as funny as the original. There are some cool comedic moments in this that made me laugh. The Taste of the Rainbow. Those of you that know what I'm talking about, when that scene happens, it's quite funny. A lot of stuff with Darla I really enjoyed. She was great. Both the actress who played the child version, obviously, and the actress who played the adult version. She's pretty cute. So I liked all that. That really worked with me. But there's some other comedy that just like, some of this is just not landing. Again, like I always like to say, comedy, it's very subjective. What I may like, you may not, and vice versa. And some of this, I was like, it's not like the big laugh out loud kind of laughs. It's more like, that was a cute moment. I see what you did. They're cute, but nothing where I was cracking up. Personally, and there's some other like little fun little visual gags they throw in this movie. There's a new character that I guess you can say joins the Shazam family. Very unexpected. I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. That did work for me. Like there's a one great bit, I would say, that's with Helen Mirren, and she's reading a letter that I found very, very funny. But again, some people might not find that very funny. I thought it was great. All I'll say is there is a magic utensil that takes everything you say literally and will write it down. That's it. And I thought that was very amusing. The action as well, I have to say, especially in the third act, the action in the first 2/3, it's like, oh yeah, it's very much similar to the original Shazam, of course. But especially in the third act, it seemed very, I don't know if you guys got the sense, those of you who've seen it, Ray Harryhausen influence. Now, again, for those who don't know, Ray Harryhausen, filmmaker, creator, all that stop motion stuff. That was, made decades ago. Stuff like Seventh Voyage of Sinbad and Jason the Argonauts and Clash of the Titans. The last third, which features a lot of fantastical, Greek, mythological monsters, that comes in. And I like that. I just like that. Oh yeah, this just reminds me. Even the designs, like the Cyclops, like they have Cyclops and Minotaurs and unicorns and stuff and harpies and everything. This is like, oh wow, you're really kind of. I see what you're paying homage to. So I kind of like that. And again, these things are violent. They're doing horrible things to people, chat. They're skewering people. They're ripping people in half. They're taking them up in the air and they're dropping them down, chat. Just bursting like grapes on the ground. It's rough. And so I think David F. Sandberg's horror influence is coming in here, creating these horror-esque scenes. And I liked them. I thought those were pretty fun. The stingers for the movie, I'm not going to go into details about them. So the very end of the movie, there's a character shows up, and it is very much a Deus Ex Machina moment. I'm like, why are they here? I'm not going to say what it is. They've already been spoiling the marketing now, because they've been worried about just the performance of this movie. Ain't going to save the movie, I can tell you that much. Listen, if you're going to bring in big recurring characters from the DCEU, then have them play a role, all right, in this movie. Have them progress the plot forward in just a meaningful way, and it's like, instead of just coming in as magical moment, we got to fix this, they fixed it, bye everybody. It's like, I don't like stuff, maybe at the very least, do something like, speaking of magic, like in Thor Ragnarok, chat, I really like the scene in which Doctor Strange comes in and helps Thor for a good long while, and they have a conversation and everything with Loki. That felt good. I like that when these characters cross into each other's universes and movies, but they propel the plot forward. Or even like in the Spider-Man films, having Iron Man in there. I like that. Or Nick Fury or Doctor Strange himself again appearing in No Way Home. I was like, this is kind of cool how they're interacting with all these characters, and it doesn't feel like a cameo. It doesn't feel like hey, there it is. This here in what they do of a certain character at the end of this movie, it's straight up a Deus Ex Machina, and you don't really get you get a fun little gag, I suppose, but it's just not enough. It's not enough. And I was like, this would have been interesting, especially because of this character's history and what they're all tied to, because they're tied to all the shit that's happening in this movie, to have them play actually a bigger role. That would have been fun. They don't do that, and I was like, that's too bad. You could have done something here. And then the stinger, that stinger, the one after the mid credits. So I don't know if they have one at the very end of the credits after you watch all that for however long, but they have one end credit stinger that's gonna go absolutely nowhere. I believe. So based on what's gonna be happening with the DC universe going forward, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe something will happen. Chat. That I could go into more details about. I can kind of see it playing into something in the future, but nothing immediate. Nothing that we're going to see, I think, in the next few years. Is going to be a while if they actually act on it. If they act on it at all. But, despite my criticisms, with the heavy exposition, with them basically telling, not showing, which is what they should be doing. And the Deus Ex Machina at the end, which is because it really undercuts something too, which I thought was actually quite good. And the unnecessary stingers. It's still an entertaining movie. I don't think it's quite as strong as the original Shazam, but they do lean into a lot of the strengths of the first film, and maybe even go above them. Again, all the family stuff, all the wholesome content, that works a lot. I think people are going to really like that. Just that whole dynamic. The villains I think are fine. I think Helen Mirren is the biggest standout just because, hey, you can give her anything and she can sell it. She does a good job selling a lot of what she's given here. But yeah, it definitely suffers from some just an overload of word vomit exposition you just don't really need. But still entertaining. I do not understand why people are saying that this is one of the worst. Listen, we live in a world where Batman v Superman exists, okay? People are saying this is one of the worst of the DC movies. It's like, no, it is absolutely not. I will vehemently disagree with that, okay? All right, this film, it nails numerous aspects of Shazam and the characters and the family, whereas something like Batman v Superman it doesn't come close to doing so. Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, all those other Suicide, the first Suicide, all that bullshit. All right, no, come on, give me a break. Give me a break. And so I am disappointed to see that this movie is not doing very well commercially. It's not performing well. I mean, it's more mixed. It's not like awful reviews, but still, I've heard from some people, it's like, this is worse than blah, blah, blah. I'm like, give me a break. It is, but it does have problems. I would love to see this continue on, but I don't feel like it's going to, which is also kind of sad, because I like the character of Shazam, but we'll see, Chip. That's my reviews. I guess I've gone this. I give this a matinee. This is a fun matinee movie, chat. Check it out. Maybe not as good as the first one, so go on that in mind. But hey, if you really like the family stuff, you like that dynamic, if you love all the kids interacting with each other, the parents interacting with each other, you're gonna like that. I think a lot, like a heck of a lot. So check it out. But what about you? What about you guys? How do you feel about Shazam: Fury of the Gods? Did you like it as much as I did? Did you have similar complaints, or was there some other aspects that you didn't particularly like as much? Let me know. I hope everyone enjoyed the film review, and I want to take the time to tell you about the movie of the week, a film that I really enjoy and one that I think you will too. This week's movie is Scream, just in time for the release of Scream 6. Scream is directed by Wes Craven and written by Kevin Williamson. A year after the murder of her mother, a teenage girl is terrorized by a killer who targets the girl and her friends by using horror films as part of a deadly game. If anyone is interested in purchasing this fantastic film, please make use of the Amazon affiliate link below in the video description. Your subsequent purchase of the film not only earns me a helpful commission, but any purchase you may make after clicking on the link itself for 24 hours would help earn me additional commissions as well. Doesn't matter if it's a Blu-ray, a video game, a pair of socks, or a washing machine, everything within 24 hours of that click can really help the channel. So go ahead and check out the film, enjoy browsing and shopping.